best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead.
Yes, indeed. And we happen to have the owner of that fine establishment right here in this studio, ready, willing, and certainly more than able to answer any questions that you might have. Questions perhaps concerning the price of a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. And you would ask that question by dialing the newer phone number here, 476-1007, 476-1007. That will put you right through to none other than Mr. Iven Streckel. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don, thanks so much for the introduction. And the reason you might want to join us on the show here, this is a live call-in show, kind of a double format. This is 1370 AM radio and 100.7 FM radio. That is WCOA. It's the oldest radio station in Pensacola. But we're also videotaping this for our cable subscribers out there. So this is going to be broadcast. So if you're watching this on TV right now, that phone number is probably not going to work because it's probably a recorded show. But if you're listening to this on the radio, that number will get you right through to me at 476-1007. And the reason you want to call is because I have with me the black wholesale guidebooks. And the wholesale guidebooks are the books that the dealers use at the auctions. I also have the Manheim Auction Report up right here, which is a little bit more up to date because these books here, the truck books, for example, are printed every 2 weeks, where the auction updates instantaneously. As soon as a vehicle is sold, if, for example, I'm looking at 2010 F-150, I'm trying to figure out what the value is, this is 2 weeks old at times, where this is instantaneous. So if on Tuesday in Orlando is the second largest auction in the nation. We're fortunate enough to have it in our backyard. I've got a buyer in Orlando every week. He drives down there. He leaves on Monday. He drives down there. He services the cars. I tell him what I'm looking for, and there will be a sea of cars down there. I think last week there was almost 5,000 cars just in that one auction alone. And I believe in Florida there's 11 different auctions, and of course we've also got Georgia and Louisiana and Mississippi right next door where we have auctions, Manheim auctions at. So we have between 20,000 and 25,000 cars available to us every single week. Now, the reason that would be important is if you're looking for a specific car, you don't happen to see it on eBay or Auto Trader or at your local dealer, Frontier Motors is the guys that will find the car for you, and we'll actually go out and buy a car for you with the understanding that you get to inspect it before you give us any money. If you buy a car on eBay, the way it works is you've got to give a deposit, minimally a deposit, if not even pay for the car in advance before they ship the car to you. At Frontier Motors, we don't ask for a deposit. We don't ask for a signature. We just ask for your handshake and your word that as long as I can produce the car you're looking for, we'll already discuss the price before I get it because I can see what they're going for through the Manheim auctions. I can see what the NADA retail guidebooks say that the retail value is. And, of course, I'm going to give you a discounted price because I want to compete with all the dealerships that maybe do have a vehicle like the one you're looking for on their lot, but maybe they're in New York, maybe they're in San Francisco, maybe they're outside the area, and it doesn't pay to have the vehicle shipped with, again, the understanding that you've got to pay for it first. So if you're looking for a specific car, I've got a customer right now looking for a 2010 Lexus LS 460. It's got to be pearl white, have less than 35,000 miles. It has to have the navigation, has to have a light-colored interior. So I tell him the price of the vehicle. Before I get it, I tell him his value of his trade-in. I give him a bottom line price in writing. If he's worried about what the payments are going to be, I'm going to quote him payments through one of our lend sources, whether he goes through Frontier Motors or his own lending institutions immaterial, and I'm going to let him know what the payments are going to be. And at that point, the only thing that's that he doesn't know is, well, how do I know if I like it? Well, he knows he likes the 2010 LS 460. He wouldn't tell me to go buy one. But he doesn't know if the one I'm going to buy is going to pass his inspection. So the way that I take the apprehension away from that is by telling him, don't worry about it. If it doesn't pass your inspection, don't buy it. So here's a way for him to say, well, of course, let's go ahead. We'll go with it if you're not holding me obligated. I do hold him obligated if I buy the perfect car exactly the way he wants, because we don't do this, just to pass the time. We do this to sell a car. And if the car does pass your inspection, of course, we expect him to take delivery. Almost 20 to 25% of our sales are based on locates because we know that even though we have a 300 car inventory, we don't have the exact vehicle for everybody. Another example, a friend of ours is looking for a Mazda CX-9, and we had one on the lot. It was a 2012 model, but they didn't really like the color. It was a blue color. They didn't like blue, and they really wanted one a little bit more loaded. We didn't have navigation or a sunroof. We didn't have all the features that they're looking for, even though it had leather interior. So what we did is we flipped them over to the Locate. Also, our 2012 was a little bit more than what they wanted to spend. So we backed that down into a 2008 or 2009, but with more equipment. So I gave them a price on that fit into their budget, and they gave me 3 color choices, and they said, go ahead and buy the car as long as it passes their inspection. And so right now I'm in the process of locating them. I've got the Manheim auction up right here. And matter of fact, while I've got everybody watching this, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the sales for tomorrow just to see what's already registered pre-sale inventory. And the pre-sale inventory is from all over the nation. Actually, it's all over the world because Manheim has auctions in China, in Europe, everywhere. I think they just opened one in Africa, too. Let's go ahead and go to Orlando. It looks like in Florida, they have two auctions in Orlando, one in Daytona, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, Jacksonville, Lakeland, I think that's close to Orlando, and Palm Beach, Pensacola, St. Petersburg, and Tampa. So we've got a lot of auctions available right in our backyard, which is great for us. And, folks, when people think about auctions, sometimes they remember that years ago the dealers would take their junky cars to the auction. That doesn't happen anymore. And I'm not saying they don't take junky cars to the auction, but the auctions these days is an exchange venue. It's where dealerships take their cars, and let's say I always use this as an example because this happened years ago, where a Lexus dealership took in a F-350 dually, a Ford dually. Well, there's not too many people going to a Lexus dealership looking for a used dually. So what they do is they take it to the Orlando auction, they ship it down there. There are more buyers there than almost anywhere in the nation, and they'll get the maximum amount of money for that vehicle there, and they take that cash, and their buyer will in turn take that money and buy a used Lexus, because you're more apt to go to a Lexus dealership to find a used Lexus. So it's an exchange venue, and the nice thing about what they did with independent dealerships back, one of the reasons that we started this dealership at Frontier Motors years ago is because they opened the auctions up to independents. There was a time way back 20 years ago, even before that, I was in the new car business, and you had to be a new car franchise dealership to be able to buy current model vehicles at the auction. Even if they were rental cars, they weren't selling them to anybody other than the franchise dealership. For example, we had a Pontiac and a Cadillac and a Isuzu and a Jaguar dealership. So if I wanted to back then, for example, this was in 1994, if I wanted to buy a 1993 or 94 Cadillac, I had to be a Cadillac dealership. Well, we were, so we were able to go to the auctions and buy just about brand new Cadillacs at used car prices. Well, what they did back in the 94, 95 era, before we started the dealership in 96, is they opened that up to independent dealerships. Somebody got smart and said, if we invite independent dealerships, there's way more independent dealers than there are new car dealers. Therefore, maybe we can sell the vehicles quicker, maybe not for more money, but we can sell them quicker, because what if the new car dealerships aren't buying right now? If they have too much inventory, they find they take their vehicles to the auction, whether they be rental cars or dealer demonstrators or dealerships that are going out of business, or for whatever reason you're taking a 2013 or a 12 model to the auction, and if I wasn't able to buy that car, it would affect the sale and the turn of that vehicle. So they opened up to independent dealerships, and now I'm competing with dealerships like what we have right in our backyard. If you're going to be looking at a brand new Cadillac, you stop at Frontier Motors to find out, do I have a Cadillac? Maybe that's a half year old. Maybe it's only 3 or 4 months old. Like we sold on Saturday, we sold a 2012 Cadillac CTS Coupe. That's a little two-door job. And this was a premier edition, which means that it had navigation, sunroof, backup camera, and it was pearl white. I think it had 6,000 miles on it, and that would save a customer somewhere between $5,000 to $7,000 over the discounted price of a brand new one. Not off the window sticker. I never use a window sticker as a guide, even though it makes me look even better, because off the window sticker I would have probably saved the customer $12,000. But there's not too many people walking into any General Motors dealership, for example, and paying full list for a car. You're going to be able to get some rebates and incentives and some discounts. So we take that in consideration, and I know what the invoice is of every car out there before I buy a 2013 model, because I have the new car cost guides. And the new car cost guides, what they do is they tell me the list price of the vehicle. They also tell me the equipment prices, and the most importantly, they tell me the dealer cost of the car. I have to know what dealer cost is, because when I buy one, I have to be able to back that up at least between 25 to 50% for the first year or 2 years worth of depreciation. It'll make your head spin on how much money you can save by buying a car that might be 1 year old versus the discounted price of a brand new one. If there wasn't a gap, I would never be able to sell my car. So we're able to buy the vehicle at a pretty good discounted price. And let me see if I can get into the Orlando auction and see how many cars are already registered. Last week when I did this, they had 5,000 cars. Right now, let's see, it looks like there's about 4,200 cars registered. It's another day away. So they're going to have about the same amount of cars that they had last year, which was a little bit over 5,000 cars. Frontier Motors is located at 230 Beverly Parkway. If you've never been to Frontier Motors, you'll be pleasantly surprised when you get there that you are not going to be pressured into making a purchasing decision if you're just kicking tires. And a lot of people will come in to be repeat customers or previous customers. They just come in and say hi to us, get a cup of coffee, and they know that we unlock all of our 300 vehicles every morning. Our salespeople, they have about 25 to 30 cars they're responsible for, and what they do every morning is they unlock the cars for you potential tire kickers out there that are just coming in to look at cars. Maybe you want to sit in. Maybe you're not ready right now. Maybe you're buying a car in 6 months from now, but you want to know what's available, what are the models out there, maybe a little bit of what they're going for, price range, what fits into your budget, even though you might not be ready to purchase a car today. Well, Frontier Motors is a great place to shop, and I know a lot of people look at cars on Sundays because a lot of the local dealers are closed on Sundays, and therefore the customers are not going to be pressured by a salesman or by a sales manager to make a purchasing decision. And what we decided years ago is to have that same attitude during the week when we are open. So if you pop in at Frontier Motors, even though we close at 6 o'clock at night and 4 o'clock on Saturdays, if we pop in during the day, our salespeople can either help you or you can say, hey, I want to be left alone. And the nice thing about it is you can shop at your leisure because every car is unlocked. So you don't have to have a salesman run back and forth, because the reason that you come to Frontier Motors normally is because you're not exactly sure what make and model you're looking for. If you go to a Toyota dealership, most people go there because they have decided they want a Toyota or perhaps a car like that. So they're going there for a reason, to look at that particular model. A lot of our customers come to Frontier Motors, they're not really sure what they want. And the advantage of coming to an independent dealership like Frontier Motors is that you can look at all different makes and models. So you can look at the Toyota Camry, but what if you want to look at the Honda also? Well, if you're looking at a new one, you'd have to go to the Toyota dealership, and then you got to go over to Pensacola Honda, look at their Honda. And then if you want to look at a Malibu, you got to go over to Sandy Sansing or Pete Moore to look at their Malibu. What if you want to take a look at the Ford Fusion? You got to go over to World Ford and look at the Fusion. Well, guess what? You're crisscrossing all of Highway 29 and maybe down in Navy Boulevard, looking at all those different makes and models. At Frontier Motors, we've got them all lined up. We have the Ford Fusion, we have the Malibu, we have the Nissan Altima, the Hyundai Sonata, the Kia Optima. Then we also have the Camry, we have the Avalon. We have them all lined up, and they're all next to each other, just about sitting right there on the lot, and they're all unlocked. So if you're trying to get an idea of how the interior looks, how the seating arrangement works, does the seat travel far enough back or far enough forward to make it comfortable for you? Is the pricing where you want it to be? Is it a $20,000 budget you have, or a $10,000 budget? And these are all things that we can help you with because all the cars are lined up. And for example, this morning I had a customer that was approved at their credit union, but it had to be a 2006 import. She wanted to import. Had to be a 2006 model vehicle that she was approved for, or newer. It has to have less than 100,000 miles on it, and she preferred an import car. Now, why did she prefer an import? Well, the only reason I can think of is because she feels that the imports have a better model or have a better reputation, better reliability than the domestic products. And I tell you, 15 years ago, I would agree with that. But I think right now, if you take a look at Consumers Reports, which is one of the magazines that we subscribe to. I happen to have the 11 model here, but we also have the 12 and the 13 back at the dealership. It tells me which models are recommended based on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of surveys of people, of Consumers Reports, talking to customers that bought these vehicles and the issues that they've had or the non-issues that they have with particular vehicles. And you'll find, for example, that if you flip over to the Ford Fusion, that vehicle, or the Malibu for that matter, has just about as good of a reputation as you have with the Camry and as you have with the Honda Accord or the Nissan Altima. Now, why would you want to look at one of the other ones when you could just go and buy an Altima? One reason is they're less expensive. The domestic products depreciate a little bit faster than the imports because of that perception. And because of that, you can get a car with just as good reliability for anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 less. And when you're on a budget, that makes a big difference because sometimes the imports, because of their better resale value, even though there's still a deal compared to a new one, is going to be quite a bit more expensive than you'd look at a domestic. But those are the things that we can tell you. And I had this happen also when a customer comes in looking at a Camry. I said, well, how about looking at a Kia Optima or the Hyundai Sonata? And they said, no, I don't want no Kia or Hyundai product. Well, why not? Wow, those are junky cars. I said, no, they're not. No, they're not. Maybe 15 years ago they were, but not anymore. And if you look at Consumers Reports, they're rating the Hyundai and the Kia. Some of those models are even higher rated than the Toyota or the Honda or the Scion product. So these are things that we can help you with when you come on the Frontier Motors lot. The nice thing about being an independent dealer, folks, is I don't have to sell you into a make and model. And that's why sometimes the pressure comes in when you go to a Lexus dealership, for example. They're going to tell you why the Lexus is the best product in the whole world and why you'd be a fool not to buy a Lexus. Well, you go across the street to the Infiniti dealership, and they're going to tell you why their Infiniti is the best possible deal out there in the market. And they'll normally have publications or Consumers Reports to argue their standpoint. Well, Frontier Motors, the nice thing is I can sell you either one. I've got the Lexus products all lined up. I have the Infinitis. I've got the BMWs and the Acuras lined up there. If you want to flip into something a little less expensive, of course, Toyota is a great product for us. So is Honda and Nissan. And then you can look at a slew of the domestic vehicles, like if you want to flip over to a Cadillac, to compare a Cadillac CTS, for example, to a Lexus ES350. And these are the things that you can do at Frontier Motors, which you can't do when you go to a single car lot, because all they're going to show you is that brand new car. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you go to a new car dealership and look at a new car, you'd think, well, let's flip over to the used side of it. A lot of times their used cars are priced as high, if not higher, than their new cars. And I think one of the reasons is because when you build a multi-million-dollar building, there's so much pressure from the manufacturer to get the dealer to sell new cars that the used cars seem to be like hindsight. They never have been really up, because it's not a benefit to the franchise. If you're selling Chevrolets, for example, what is it to benefit to the Chevrolet make or the actual factory if you sell used Chevrolets? They don't make any money. The only way they make money is if you get the new car dealers to sell their new cars and then replace those new cars with other new cars. So a lot of times you'll find there's a disparity between the pricing on some new car dealerships lots where the used cars are as much, if not even higher, than the new cars, because there's so much of a push to sell those new cars out of there. And that's why when you come to Frontier Motors, you'll be pleasantly surprised that if you've been to the new car dealership first and you got a bottom line price in writing, and that's another thing that I can go off on another whole hour tangent on getting a dealership to give you a price, which sometimes takes an act of God. I don't know why it's that difficult for a dealership to give you a price, but it seems like even if they give you a price, it's never an exact price. It's never a price in writing with the trade-in, which a trade-in value in there, the taxes, the dock fee, the out-the-door figure. Because if you had that, wouldn't it be so much easier to do your shopping? And one of the reasons that the dealerships are hesitant on giving you the price because it makes it too easy for you to go and shop. Well, Frontier Motors, when you come to Frontier Motors, one of the first things we do once you find a car that you're somewhat interested in is we'll ask you something like, well, we're asking $12,000 for the car. Do you want me, this is what a salesman would say to you, do you want me to go get a bottom line price in writing before you leave? And I would say if you're somewhat interested in the car, of course you're going to say yes. Yeah, see if they can discount the car a little bit and give me an out-the-door figure. And by the way, I've got a trade in here. Well, let me look at your trade, and also the salesman's going to say, and I can give you a price both ways, with the trade or without the trade, or I can give you a price with the trade, because most people aren't going to mess around with trying to sell their car themselves. They're going to want to trade it in, get the best possible dollar amount they possibly can for that car. There's a little bit of a tax savings if you trade a car in. You can flip the tag over, flip the insurance, and away you go. So it's a lot easier, and sometimes even though the dealership might pay you a little less money for your trade-in than you could get on the open market, after you take in consideration the ease of doing business and the tax advantages, you're better off trading the car in. And I can, of course, put a pencil to that and show you exactly where that stretches out. But why won't they put the price in writing? One reason is because they're afraid you're going to buy somewhere else. They're afraid you're going to take that price to Frontier Motors and I'll price the 2012 out. And if it's $5,000 less than one you just got, you're going to buy from us. Well, Frontier Motors, we're so proud of our pricing that I will put the price in writing for you. I'll give you a copy of it. We'll sign it. And as long as the vehicle's available, you're going to be able to buy that car for that price at any time unless something happens with the trade-in. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say you damage the trade. I appraise your car for $15,000. You bring it back a week later, and you've got a dent in the back that wasn't there before. Maybe a check engine light came on. Maybe you rolled over mileage. Maybe when I appraised it, it had 59,000 miles on it. Now you've got 60,000 miles on it. Well, that would affect the value of the trade-in. But other than that, if none of those issues are there, we're going to guarantee you the price as long as the vehicle isn't sold. And I think that's where I get the most complaint is that when a customer comes in and we give him a price and he says, well, I want to go shop around a little bit. They leave. They come back 3 hours later after they've cruised up to Car City, maybe Newton Navy Boulevard. Maybe they just went on their iPhone and punched in prices and found out we had a good deal. They come back 3 hours later and the car's sold. And the first thing customer, of course, says, well, why didn't you tell me you had other people looking at it? Well, number one, if we would have told you that, you probably wouldn't have believed us because that's the old car ploy. You better buy that car because I got 15 people looking at it, and they think that we're lying to them. So even if I had somebody looking at the car, I wouldn't tell you because it's just a ploy. I want you to buy the car when you're ready, not when we want to sell it. Now, we normally will go one step further that if you're interested in the car and we give you a price, we tell you, by the way, we're not holding the car. That way a customer doesn't get mad because I've had people already get mad where they come back 3 or 4 hours later and they're ready to buy the car after the research they've done. And I had this happen on with a Toyota Tundra the other day. We had taken a 35,000 Toyota Tundra that had just hit over 90 days in inventory, and we dropped the price to a ridiculous figure. I think it was $28,900. We had people crawling out of the woodwork, and we actually had 2 customers that said they were going to buy it, but they wanted to check around a little bit before they made the final decision. Well, I think what they want to do is call the Toyota dealership up to see if it was a good deal. They found it was a superb deal. Matter of fact, I couldn't replace the vehicle for the price I was selling it for, but I needed the money. I wanted to get that vehicle gone and go buy something else. So I priced it at a discounted auction price to make it go away quick. And one reason I do that is I really don't like to take my cars to the auction. I would rather sell them at auction prices right at the dealership, give somebody a good deal, have them drive around with a Frontier logo. Heck, maybe sometimes I can get a trade-in where I can make money on the trade-in. So I made a real good deal. The customers both came back that were looking at it, and of course it was sold. And it was sold like that same day, so they were a little bit upset, and they even asked me if I could find them a car just like it. And I said when I got on the line to try to duplicate that car, it's going to be a difficult task. And that's about the only complaint that we have at Frontier Motors is that when we're selling 200 cars a month, which equates to about 50 a week, we're flipping these cars so fast that a lot of times you come back after you've made up your mind and that car's gone. But that's where I come in, and my job is to replace the car. So even if it gets sold, it's not the end of the world. My job is to go to one of these auctions, and I'll guarantee that I can, when I say guarantee, I can get that same car. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly the same. That's one thing about used cars. They're all a little bit different. Might have a little bit more equipment. Maybe the one I'll buy even has a little bit lower miles. Maybe the color of the interiors are here a shade lighter or darker. So these are little things that you deal with when you're buying used cars. But the reason that people buy new cars is because they can order exactly what they want. The disadvantage is you pay for that privilege, and sometimes it's a lot of money that you pay for the privilege because guess what happens when you sign the bottom line? You drive off with that new car today, and what if something happens, you want to get rid of it tomorrow morning? That used car is now that new car is now a used car. Now I have to praise it a used car because it's been titled, the warranty clock is ticking, and someone's going to want to bargain on it. So that's where you lose that $5,000 or $6,000 when you drive right off the lot. And that's where I come into Frontier Motors to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. I got a new inventory this morning. I kind of exaggerated a little bit because I said I had 300 cars in inventory. My new inventory report shows 290 because on Saturday we sold 11 cars on Saturday, and I haven't replaced those cars yet because the auctions aren't until tomorrow. I do have some private individuals selling us some cars. On Saturday, I think we bought 3 cars from private individuals, and today we have appointments already for 5 customers coming in to sell us their cars, and that leads me on to another topic that if you have a car, rather than putting it on Craigslist or eBay or AutoTrader or Cars.com, why don't you just bring us the car? Give me 10 minutes with the car. Let me drive it around the block. Let me scan the ID number. With these smartphones these days, I can scan the ID number. I can tell you within a matter of minutes what I'll write that check for if you want to just sell that car. And you'll be surprised that some customers are actually selling the cars for less than what they should because they don't know any better. And that's where I come in because I'm snapping those cars up real quick because I know that even if I mark them up a little bit, there's still some profit in it. And the advantage of being a small independent dealership, when I say small, I'm talking about our building size. We don't have a showroom. We don't have a mausoleum. We bought our building about 16, actually going on 17 years ago for $105,000. We've done some renovating and we've expanded a couple of times. We bought some extra properties. But the amount of money that we have invested in our facility is 1/10 of what it would be if you went to a franchise dealership. That overhead translates into a little little lower price. And when I say a little lower, I'm talking about as much as $1,000 to $1,500 per car that I don't have to make, that some of the dealerships that have high overhead have to make to be able to stay in business. But I think it's not just the pricing of the cars that makes a difference. I think the last time I saw a survey in my automotive news magazine, they do surveys all the time, price was like the 5th thing on the list. Which is always interesting because the number one thing that customers always ask about, and they always put so much emphasis on, is how much is it? How much is it? How much is it? Well, the price is not the most important thing. Number one, you've got to like the dealership that you're doing business with and the salesperson. If you don't like those, you lose more sales if you have a nasty salesperson or a nasty dealer, and that's the number one thing. Number two, you got to like the vehicle you're dealing on. It's the vehicle that's important. You have to like the sales process. Do you like the way these guys are doing business? Do you like the way that they're talking to you? Are they courteous? Are they giving you respect? Or are they pressuring you to make a decision? When you already told them, well, I want to think about it, and maybe young kids in there, he's 20 years old and he wants to talk to dad before he makes a decision. These dealers they're jumping on him because after 18 you can buy your own car, but he wants to make a decision and they find out he never comes back because he was pressured so much. And these are the things that make a difference. And, of course, price is always one of the things also, but it's not the top priority. Price-wise, we very rarely lose a deal because of price. I have lost deals because maybe they like the color of a car better, and a lot of our customers are impulsive buyers where we have a black one, they want a white one. Well, I can get them a white one and save them the money, but they want one now. And if I can't get one now, sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 days or a week to actually get the car in once I do a locate. Sometimes if you're real specific, it takes even longer than that. But normally I can get a car. My average is probably about 2 to 3 weeks that I can find the car for. So if you've got the time and you have a car you're driving that's a trade-in, I can get exactly the car you want on a locate basis with the 20 to 25,000 cars that are available on a weekly basis. We also give We also do a couple services for the people in the Pensacola area. I think one of our best services that we do is we do free history reports on a car, whether you're buying it from a neighbor, relative, maybe you saw it on the side of the road, maybe it's on Craigslist. Give us the ID number. Call Frontier Motors. Our dealership phone number is 436-8080. And give us the ID number and the mileage of the car, and we can run auto check and a Carfax for you. If you buy Carfax, I think the last time I looked, it was like $39 per Carfax, and I think if you subscribe to them, you can run like 8 of them within a 30-day time. But don't waste the money. Just call us. We pay one price. We can run as many as we want, and we'll do the history report of any car out there. I don't care if you're buying it from us or not. We can also tell you, when I put that ID number in, it'll tell me how many are available in our area and what they're going for. And so I can not only give you the history report, I can also tell you if there's any issues or what the pricing should be on that particular car. And let's say that your neighbor's got it for sale and they're asking $20,000, and by scanning the ID number and you telling me the miles and the equipment, I can say, hey, I can get this car at the auction, make a profit, and sell it for $18,000. So that information is very helpful to you because you can use that information to either buy from me or get your neighbor to drop the price down to $18,000. If they won't do that, then you come to me and I'll go ahead and find that car for you and sell it to you for $18,000. Most people will take the information and get them to get a better deal. And that can be the difference, whether it be your neighbor if you see it at the side of the road, or maybe it's in Car City. Maybe it's a used car that you see at one of the dealerships right here in Car City. Before you put your money down, call Frontier Motors, give us the ID number, the mileage, and the equipment on the car, and I can tell you what to pay. And we're not going to screw up the other dealership's deal. The whole thing about doing this service, folks, is that if I help you get a good deal and maybe get them to drop their price to what it should be, the next time you're in the market, you're going to come and see Frontier Motors. And that's what it's all about, is building relationship. It doesn't have to be today for you to buy a car. It might be 5 years from now. Am I doing this radio show for 1370 or WCOA, I should say? We've been doing this radio show for 16 years. We get so many people that come in and say, I've been listening to you guys for 10 years. My car finally took a dive. I'm ready to buy. And I feel like you guys are family, the way you've been talking, that if you guys do what you talk about on the radio, I'm going to buy from you. And we make sure that our dealership, that all of our salespeople listen to the show, know what we're talking about, so that when I say that it's an easy place to do business, that we unlock our cars every morning, and that we can give you a price sheet. You can walk around by yourself if you want, or we can give you a bottom line price in writing within a matter of minutes, and appraise your trade-in, tell you what we'll buy it for. All these things that we're talking about happen at the dealership. I am not in a back office. Ron, my partner, and myself are right in the showroom, right in the middle of the action, of where all the customers are. We have no sliding windows or anything. You can come up, talk to us if you want, and we want to make sure that by eavesdropping on the conversation of the salespeople, that they're doing what I'm talking about right now to make it easy. And actually, and people have said this, which is kind of unusual when you buy a car, that they can make it fun to buy a car. That you can have that good time because you feel like you know that you're getting a good deal, whether you're shopping around or not. And I can show you what the other dealerships are charging for their cars to make sure that you know you got the best deal. Check out our website. It's frontiermotorsinc.com. We've got 291 cars inventory at this morning. Within a couple of days, we'll have over 300 cars. You'll have 21 to 31 detailed photographs of every car out there. And if you're buying a car today, tomorrow it's used. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier. We got the right price. Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors. Low overhead country.